Following a leaked internal letter, the Israeli chief rabbinate has now officially confirmed its newly proposed criteria for the recognition of rabbinical courts abroad, especially, if not specifically, for the purposes of overseeing Jewish conversions and divorces. The draft, if passed, would require rabbinical courts in the diaspora to undergo examinations, a move that critics say is just the Israeli rabbinate trying to monopolize the practice. Here with more on this complex issue is Rabbi Meir Azari of Beit Daniel, Tel Aviv, modern Orthodox Rabbi Seth Farber, who is a historian and the founder of ITIM, the Jewish Life Information Center of Israel, Rabbi Ariel Konstantyn, the founding rabbi at the Tel Aviv International Synagogue, and Rabbi Ronen Neuwirth, the chairman of the Ve'ahavta TLV Jewish Experience. Thank you all very much for coming in.
Thank you. Thank you.
So first, I'm going to start off, let's answer the critics. One of the mandates proposed says that to be recognized, the rabbinical court must be Orthodox, permanent, meaning that it convenes regularly and not just for specific events, and is officially recognized by the countries that they are in. What's not fair about that so far?
It's ridiculous. In the modern era, that most of the Jews outside of Israel are not Orthodox, Reform or conservative or secular Jews, trying to get this monopoly from here, it's ridiculous. Just look outside, see Tel Aviv, preparing yourself to the great parade. See the spirit of Tel Aviv, the spirit of Israel. This is what we want to say to the world. Israel is becoming Orthodox. Israel is becoming ultra-Orthodox because this is the face of the chief rabbinate. My Orthodox colleagues can tell you that. This is not Orthodox monopoly, it's ultra-Orthodox monopoly. And saying that to the rest of the world, this is a disaster, this is shame, and it's a mistake of the Israeli politicians. The fact that they want to have it, I can understand. But politicians, to sell the story of the future of the Jewish people, for what and why? Don't do that.
I think that there's definitely a major disconnect that's being caused by this, even within the Orthodox movement, as my colleague said as well,
Sure.
that throughout history, we've always had academies and Torah institutions and yeshivot that have been giving maximal study and testing and raising generations of rabbis. And that has always been a community-based thing where we have a rabbi who is a community pulpit, a leader who takes care of his congregation, who provides leadership in terms of birth, in terms of bar mitzvah and bat mitzvah and weddings and funerals, and conversion as part of his functioning as a community rabbi. And to say that they have to meet regularly and be tested by the Rabbanut is a travesty and an insult to the Orthodox institutions around the world as well. To be able to tell them that you're not qualified, you're not worthy, the community rabbi is being handcuffed in his functioning to serve his community, and it is creating a greater disconnect and divide between the rabbinate and the face of the Israel to the diaspora.
So what do you think, Rabbi Neuwirth, what do you think the results of such a policy, should it be approved, will be?
So I think there are three different issues, and we need to separate between them in order to get the honest picture. To begin with, the state of Israel, whether we agree or disagree, but that's by democracy, gave the power to the Rabbanut to make decisions like the official, the professional body, and in every area.
Not in every area. Conversion is
not
okay if it's done by the Reform movement as well. Is accepted by the state of Israel.
And
this proposal is changing
the law free time, but I'm speaking about whether to accept a conversion halachically. This is something that state of Israel empowered the Rabbanut. Do I agree with this? I think we can find better solutions. We definitely need to see a jury outside of Israel, and today there's a huge disconnect, as my colleagues mentioned before. But this, the policy per se is something which is legitimate. The problem here is when you define some rabbis who are not trustworthy, and because you spoke about conversions and divorces, and this is halacha. Now you can argue where do we draw the lines of halacha. However, there's something else which is testifying on someone who is Jewish, and today the Rabbanut is not accepting a testimony of rabbis, even Orthodox rabbis, that someone is Jewish. And this is something that it's not halachic. It's just saying that this person, because I don't believe, I do not identify with his line, with his philosophy, is not trustworthy, and this is something which is shaming like many rabbis, and obviously creating making the disconnect between Israel and diaspora much more severe.
This isn't only about rabbis. This is about Israel fulfilling its historical destiny. Right now, the rabbinate, through the documents that have been publicized, is demonstrating both its arrogance and its ignorance of the world Jewish community. The rabbinate and the state of Israel can choose to live myopically. They can choose to be monolithic. That's their right. But that is not the kind of state of Israel that the Jewish diaspora, and in fact the Jews of Israel, want. ITIM has been fighting for more than 4 years just to get this document. We've been to court. We've filed Freedom of Information Act. We've gone to meetings with the rabbinate. We finally have a document, and frankly, it's pathetic. It demonstrates an incredible lack of sensitivity and really threatens the very future of the Jewish world by delegitimizing, by disenfranchising, by alienating, by really saying you're not valuable at all to us. And it can be so different, and it's so easy for it to be different, not just for rabbis, but for the Jewish world.
Just to show you the embarrassment that this law can cause, is the fact that not just a few months ago, they still had a debate if to recognize conversion done by Rabbi Luxton from New York, the rabbi that did the conversion of Ivanka Trump. You understand that
I'll even say more than that. I'll even say more. According to these new criteria, and I'll make it very clear, Rabbi Luxstein's conversions will not be accepted.
Which means Ivanka Trump
I don't want to speak about an individual. I don't want to speak an individual person.
And
what I do want to say is that individual rabbis of the stature of Rabbi Luxstein and hundreds like him will find themselves completely alienated from the very state of Israel that they support. But it's not only about the rabbis, it's about Jewish peoplehood.
Something that's kind of been brought up is there have been kind of comparisons made to the Roman Catholic Church and their history, and studying their history of how they divided and kind of lost their, you could say, monopoly over the spiritual power and forces of Christianity. Do you see the Israeli Rabbinate, do you see comparisons there between the Israeli Rabbinate and the Roman Catholic Church of old?
No one's elected the chief rabbi's pope. Jewish people don't want a papacy. The Jewish people want a state of Israel that reflects their values, that supports them, that encourages them, and that empowers them, not one that alienates them.
Can you imagine to yourself that Rabbi Gur or the rabbi from Vizhnitz or the Shas will vote for Rabbi Lau and he is the pope for them? This is ridiculous.
Well, but not just that, but I mean in general in terms of, making edicts for and kind of separating people. Yeah.
The monopoly of a rabbinate within a handful of people is very, very dangerous and very frightening. As my colleagues have also said, it does not represent the full spectrum of the Jewish experience and therefore marginalizes all others. What's sad about it is even the ultra-Orthodox don't really look at the chief rabbinate as their rabbinic body, even though they're the ones who are controlling it, and it was established to be a religious Zionist rabbinate to represent all people, from left to right, from secular to ultra-Orthodox, and that's how it was established to begin with, to be a unifying body rather than a dividing body, and it's become a dividing force.
Final word?
Yeah, there's just one thing which I think we are missing out. We are blaming the Rabbanut, but the body that empowers the Rabbanut is the government. And throughout the history of the state of Israel, most of the governments were secular and they empowered the Rabbanut. So if we want to make a change, it has to start from above.
We began this battle not for the rabbinate. We began this battle for the future of the state of Israel.
That's right.
And particularly for the future of the Jewish people.
Well, rabbis, unfortunately, I'm so sorry. Unfortunately, we've hit time. But thank you all very much for coming in, and that's a good point of thought to leave on. So thank you all very much for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.